Welcome to the Brant and Sherri Oddcast, sponsored by America's Christian Credit Union. To order Brant's latest book, Life is Hard, God is Good, Let's Dance, or to find out more about the show, go to BrantHansen.com.
Okay, everybody get pumped because...
Why?
Well, you can't say why as I'm saying because.
I don't know that you even announce everyone get pumped. You just start saying something and everyone's like, whoa, I'm pumped about this. The announcement is like,
everybody get pumped because it's going to be really disappointing.
Yeah, see?
Well, I've been learning some stuff about the Bible,
Okay.
and I think it's really interesting. And doggone it, we got a podcast.
And you guys are going to get it.
You're
Here
gonna
it
get
is.
it. Oh, yeah.
All right.
Oh, it's coming at you. Oh.
All right, I'm pumped.
And how? There's nothing you can do about it either. There's no way you can shut this off. You will never, ever
That's
shut
right.
it off. Okay, so I've learned stuff in the past couple of days, and it caused me to research things, and that's caused me to learn more. Mm-hmm. And it was initially prompted by the Bema podcast, which I've talked about a few times, which I really love.
Sounds like a lot of people responding. A lot of people listen to it.
Yeah, and it's good. Now, I will say this. It's done in like 6 seasons, 6 sessions.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's hundreds of podcasts now.
Which is wonderful.
It is, but so session 1 is love. Session 2 is slog. And I'm not proud of this, but I bailed.
Oh, okay.
And I skipped ahead because I heard session 3 was really great.
Okay.
And it is.
Ah, okay.
So just a heads up, if you get bogged down a little bit, that happens to the best of us.
Just stay pumped.
Just stay pumped. That's all I'm trying to say. Stay pumped. So I thought the Pharisees killed Jesus. I thought that they were central in that. I thought that a Roman soldier was in the garden and got his ear cut off by Peter. I
No,
thought...
I knew that wasn't true.
Did you?
Isn't it? It was someone from was it Sanhedrin?
Okay. You're
Is that right or no?
No,
Okay.
it's not, but it's
I knew it wasn't
you're on the
a
right
Roman soldier.
track.
Yes. Okay.
You're on the right track.
Caiaphas. Who was the high priest? I'm sorry. Go
Caiaphas
ahead.
was a
Yeah.
high priest.
All right.
Annas was his uncle, I think, or nephew. I can't remember which direction that goes, but this is all really important. And so I didn't have any idea about the political layout of things, the reality that people were dealing with at the time.
Okay.
I had no clue what they had gone through, and also the main struggle that the people of God were dealing with at the time, and why they fractionalized, and who the Sadducees were, who the Pharisees were, who the Zealots were. Like, we have some idea about the Zealots, right? They're zealous. But if you don't mind, I want to unpack this because I think it's really, really interesting and relevant.
Okay.
Just because it's true, number one, but also like for our own self-examination. What had happened, what I appreciate about the Bema podcast, and I am aware of this, at least historically, we're talking 323 BC. It's really significant because Alexander the Great, I think it's the year he died. I'm trying to remember. But he didn't live very long. And he took over everything. But he brought with him this culture, the Greek culture, which just was tough for people to resist. Like, he didn't need the occupying forces because the culture was so good at some stuff. And the stuff they were good at was education. They were good at sports, like bringing sports to people.
Oh yeah, yeah. It was entertaining. I'm sure. Yeah.
Gymnasiums, like there's this whole culture, entertaining and artful.
I was going to say theater.
The theater.
Yeah. Yes.
Exactly. So that's Hellenic culture. So that's the Greek culture, basically. He was Macedonian, but close enough. But anyway, that Greek culture, the philosophy, the stuff like that was just tough to resist. And so when the Romans ultimately took over the region, Judea, they're Hellenized as well. I mean, they're all about, this, like the arena and the same stuff. They're really good. They took it to the next level in terms of organization, like roadways and aqueducts and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, it made for a really pervasive culture. And you might expect people who were like, we've blown it before with God. How do we not blow this again? And now we're being occupied again. We've been in exile. They came back. Well, there were people that were appointed basically to be in charge of the new Israel. And they were what was Zadok was his name. They were descendants. They were families that were descendants of Zadok, the priest at David's time.
Yeah.
Well, that's the Zadokians. And if you go with a pronunciation that's more like the Greek pronunciation. That's the word Sadducee. So they were families. They were aristocrats, and they acted like the mafia. I had no idea. I just kind of blended them in with the Pharisees.
Yeah.
Because it's like, the Sadducees and the Pharisees. But they're very different. I mean, they had huge houses, massive houses, and they dominated everything, and they got to run the temple. So they got to be in power, and it was always kept between these families. And they also had the temple guard as their hit squad. So these guys were like special forces, and they were able to run the Jewish end of things while the Romans partnered with Herod, who wasn't actually a Roman per se. I think he was Arab, but he would do a few Jewish things or whatever. He married into the Jewish religion, try to smooth things out, but he wasn't a Jew. And he partnered with him because he was so rich. So the Romans were willing to, he was like Jeff Bezos of his time.
Yeah.
He controlled the spice trade, which is everything. So Rome's thinking, we've got the power, we got the army and stuff, and it'd probably be good to partner with you. You've got the financial backing. So Herod's in charge. Anyway, they're reacting to this culture. So the Pharisees don't want to be part of this culture. They don't want to fall for it. Like we're going to fall for these other idols. We'll end up embracing their gods and everything. And sure enough, there's art in mosaic form. If you go, into some of these old homes, you can see now where they actually use like Greek gods and stuff. These are Jewish families where there's like mosaics of telling the Greek god stories or the Nile god or Nile stories from the Egyptian gods. So they're bringing in all these other ideas, and they're really enjoying it. And that's the thing about the Sadducees and the people who are Herodian Jews. Like they're all in. They're like, we'll kind of keep the Jewish thing nominally, but we really like the culture a lot. It's really comfortable, and it's kind of awesome, and it's more artful, and they're the people who get to sit at the cool people's table. They get to be, they do pal around with the Roman occupiers and all the fashionable people, and they liked it. And in exchange for them not being too radical into this whole, Jewish thing.
One God thing.
Yeah, that one God thing, and he's got his rules about things, and they don't. In exchange for not really being into that, they get to live this life. So they get access to all the cool stuff. The Pharisees were very into the text, like as we know. Well, Jesus when he's doing his ministry, he's mainly in their area. They have a few, like Capernaum, other areas that they kind of are. That's their spot, and they have their issues clearly. But their genuine motivation, the reason apparently that they were so into punishing people for sinning was they were thinking, you're going to bring ruin on all of us. Like you're the reason, because God is not displeased with our sin. And that's why the Romans are here. If we can get our act together morally, God will kick the Romans out of here. That's what they're thinking. So when they're stoning somebody or doing something, it's not necessarily they're like, but they're thinking we have to do this because God is upset when we don't.
Well, that makes sense then for Paul, right?
Yes.
I don't know what this is, but we got to stone this out of here. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, and they're both, I guess, from Hasidim. Like they're both, like both. What I mean, both the Zealots and the Pharisees are kind of from the same branch of saying we cannot be part of this culture. We have to react against it. And the Zealots were like, yeah, we'll act. We'll do it our way, which means we'll kill people.
Yeah.
And so they do, sometimes very successfully in some of their military operations. And there's another whole sect of people that's the Essenes who take off for the desert. And they're like, well, everybody's so messed up.
Right.
Let's just get out of this entirely.
Yeah.
Let's leave. This culture's going down. We're going to pursue God as holy a way as possible. We're going to live in these caves. We're going to copy the scriptures.
So as not to be contaminated by
exactly. We're not going to contaminate it. We're going to at least somebody, and maybe God will show up if somebody is pursuing him with everything, all of their might, and we'll let God deal with the Romans. So they go and they do this. The Essenes go by the Dead Sea and they're living in caves and stuff, and they're copying the scriptures, which was such a process. It was a 4-person process. I was learning this to to copy the scriptures down, which is why it's so accurate in some of these manuscripts. You would have somebody writing, you would have somebody reading what the other thing said so that you could copy it, and you would have somebody over the shoulder of the person writing to say, yes, he got that right.
Okay.
And they would go word by word. And then there would be somebody over the shoulder of the person reading to say, okay, he read that right. So it was like really involved. And if they got to the word God, so that might be in the beginning, okay, in, got it, he got it, you got it, okay, you got it, okay, he wrote it right, beginning. But right before God, everybody would have to leave and go do a ritual cleansing because you couldn't write the word God or even the tetragrammaton or whatever whatever it was that they were indicating God. And it had to be living water. It had to be water that's moving of its own accord.
Okay.
So they were very serious about this. So they actually would catch rain above the cave so that it would be moving down using gravity, so it'd be living water. Because otherwise, there's no river around there. It's just the Dead Sea. By the way, they are the ones that are responsible for the Dead Sea Scrolls. When people found those scrolls, it's from the Essenes at Qumran. But so you can see there's all these different reactions to this culture that you can kind of map on our own situation, I think.
Yeah, I definitely see it.
Hey, this is Brant. I feel like I'm doing you a favor here because I'm totally doing you a favor. If you want, you can take advantage of this. Right now, you can grow your savings really fast. America's Christian Credit Union is offering the best 12-month certificate rate in the nation. You're not going to beat this. It's 4.75%, but it's a limited time thing. And you can get started with as little as $1,000, but it's called a term share certificate, which is like a CD, but it's actually better. It comes with a mission. Your money gets used for things like Christian schools and missions work and funding adoptions because that's what America's Christian Credit Union does. Some awesome stuff. We've been really happy banking with them, so I think you will be too. It's a great rate. It's just for new members, 4.75%, but you want to lock this in before it drops. So here's how to jump on this. AmericasChristianCU.com/Brant. America's Christian Credit Union is federally insured by the NCUA. Again, it's AmericasChristianCU.com/BRANT. It's also interesting because Jesus spent 3 years of his ministry on earth among the Pharisees. And he would go back and forth with them. Obviously, he was very harsh. But he wasn't necessarily saying they're wrong about everything. He was just saying, you guys will never repent. You will never humble yourself. You don't care about people. The love is missing. So I think it's interesting, his reaction against them. Conversely, with the Sadducees, what you see is all he had to do was spend a week with them and they killed him. Like, they had no room for that guy. The Pharisees would debate. They were interested in the miracles. They would talk about this. What do you think about that?
So the Pharisees were not, there was no, I always thought there was some sort of collusion between them. I knew that the Pharisees and the Sadducees did not get along. I thought there was that they could at least all get along on this fact that we hate him.
They set up the Sanhedrin, which is this council of, I think it was like 72 guys, but it was even like 36 and 36 from Pharisee and Sadducee or something like that. And that was set up so that there was some sort of a ruling body or something. But in reality, the people who were in control were the Sadducees. And what you see when you actually read the text, like, this is what surprised me, is the Pharisees aren't involved in this decision. Like, it's Judas, who was a zealot, Judas Iscariot, goes straight to the Sadducees. He goes straight, they're called the chief priests.
Yeah.
He goes straight to them. So these are the rich guys that run the mafia, that run everything, because they are in league with the Romans. But Judas is probably thinking this is going to start something good. Who knows? But it's the Sadducees that did it. So the Pharisees were always at odds with Jesus on things, but it's the Sadducees that did it. So it says the chief priest. So when he goes before the Sanhedrin, he's taken away from Gethsemane. He's taken away after Peter cuts the ear off of one of the temple guard. It's a slave of Caiaphas or somebody like that.
Yeah.
So it wasn't a Roman soldier. So you're right on that. They take him to the Sanhedrin, but it's not the Sanhedrin with the Pharisees in it. It's just this smaller gathering of just these guys. The
I
chief
do remember
priests.
that because I remember the house, the imagery I got was that of like a palace or something big and palatial, and in the middle of the night, and it's all these. I do remember that.
These are the cool people who have they're the fashionable rich ones who are in league with the culture, and they want him gone. So they take him to Pilate because they're that was how they do it, and he's like, "Why don't you guys just take care of it?" And the answer is honest. Well, we can't kill him. We're not allowed to. People will revolt, but they recognize the threat that he is to them. They'll have no standing. If Jesus' movement catches on, they won't have any right to be in league with Rome. Even
because he's removing the status.
Right.
Of it.
So that, why would Rome even need them?
Right.
Like, they don't have any pull with the people anymore. So they want him dead, and they do it really fast. There's not a ton of interaction with Jesus and the Sadducees, like with the Pharisees, but it's the Sadducees that bring him before Pilate. And in fact, in 2 of the 3 gospel accounts that I was just reading, now somebody else can further read on this, but I always pictured this giant crowd of people going, Barabbas, 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 like, bring us him. We don't want Jesus.
Yeah, I think that's the picture that's been painted.
Yeah, but in at least 2 of the gospel accounts I was reading, I think Luke and John, it's not a giant crowd. It's just those chief priests. Pilate turns to them. So there's a crowd of people to give their temple guard, but it's those guys, and he's turning to them. Well, okay, so you guys want to do the freeing thing? You want me to free him? And they're like, no, we'd rather have this guy freed. They know who the real threat is. I just found that was really interesting.
That is interesting.
There weren't any Pharisees there that in the scripture. It's just this one crowd. But you can kind of, again, in my view, you can kind of map this onto how we deal with our own encroaching culture.
Yeah.
And you can see, well, there's these people and those people.
To me, you can see it all. This is what's devastating to me and hopefully instructive to me, is that you can see it all, right? And they all have one thing in common. They're all missing Jesus.
Right.
He's there.
Yeah.
He is there. And every religious person, regardless what side you're falling on, is missing him. The Messiah is here among us. And we all have different agendas. We all have different, agendas is all the word I can come up with, whatever it is. And he's here. That's sad to me.
Yeah, it is. Although we should say, I mean, some people didn't miss him.
Yeah.
They didn't.
That's true. But there had to be a humility.
Right. It just takes...
And there had to be, I think, from what I can see, unless I'm missing it, and please tell me, there had to almost be a renouncing of all of those groups. You almost had to, because Jesus is a totally different thing, right?
Yeah. He is a totally different thing.
So you really couldn't have allegiance with any of those groups.
No.
At that time, right?
No, and I think well, the only hesitation I have on this is, like...
I mean, it looks like Nicodemus came
but at night, again, because he doesn't want to be canceled.
Right.
If he shows up and he's actually hanging out with Jesus, he's in trouble.
Yeah.
It costs him his reputation.
Right, that's what I mean.
Even though, but Jesus is astonishing people, he's teaching, but to say you have to renounce this, I think over time you do, but there's like 2 zealots who are included in the disciples, for instance. So they're from this party of, here's what we do.
Yeah.
And I wonder if there's a melting away over time of...
That makes
also,
sense.
the Essenes, for instance, like what they were doing... The guy from the Bama podcast said this about the Essenes, which I've known about them, but I haven't known much. They're very into Isaiah and this voice in the wilderness, like calling from the wilderness, and every valley will be exalted, and every mountain will... Like they're very into being that, well, let's go in the wilderness and let's preserve this thing. And if we do preserve the thing, God will show up. Well, there maybe was some truth in that, because
He did.
John the Baptist like kind of modeled this Essene aesthetic, sort of.
Yeah.
And people even wonder if he was involved with them, because it was like right there.
Yeah.
They were on the Dead Sea. He shows up, he's baptizing people, and making way for, he's baptizing Jesus there, like right in that area. So I don't know about all the different groups, or whatnot, but I do think you're right. They're missing the boat. I mean, look, the Pharisees are the people who are like, text, the scriptures, the scriptures, and totally missed it.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about that. And then there's these other people that are like,
they're so beholden to the culture and their place in it.
They've assimilated, but they'll keep the name because it gives them some cachet, like professional status.
Yeah.
And they will sell Jesus out in a second, like because they want to keep their status with the larger culture, which is a huge temptation for people. One other thing that I think is easily mapped onto our current situation is the point that when you do look at the art and the way that people assimilate it or they bring it into their homes, it didn't necessarily mean that they were adopting those views. Like if you've got a mosaic that's on a tabletop and it's incredibly, these are very rich people. One of the mosaics, they used 2.2 million little tiles to make these beautiful things. But it was of the Nile story in the Egyptian creation mythos or whatever. Didn't necessarily mean they bought that. Just like we like these images, you know?
Yeah.
So you'd bring things into your house or into your life that were not what you actually believed. But it gets a little disturbing after a while because then there's mosaics of Dionysius. So you're going straight into the Greek gods now, or the Roman gods. He's out drinking Zeus. Like a mosaic in a Jewish home of Dionysius out drinking Zeus as Zeus is under the table or whatever, which is a great idea for a mosaic. But
overall,
but it's also like, okay, but how Jewish, how committed are you to where are you coming from? But obviously that's analogous to all of us.
It is, and it brings up a good point because it's almost the opposite of like when I said, well, you would almost have to renounce your affiliation with these separate groups. And you said, well, maybe there was a falling away of things until you're, you know what I mean, completely. It would be the opposite, right? So that you're not saying, yes, I serve the Greek gods, but there can be an eroding.
Yeah, right.
Right? From little by little, as you just bring little things in.
Right.
It starts to crowd maybe other things out or open your mind to things that it wouldn't normally be open to, maybe.
Yeah. And I mean,
maybe
they didn't have Netflix. They didn't have, an iPad to watch a show on or whatever.
Yeah.
They've got mosaics. Very slow moving program with mosaics. But it's like, it does make me wonder about our own cultural adaptations and just think about it. I don't know. But that's one thing I will say about what I'm learning from watching different rabbis and also listening to this podcast is how a rabbinical perspective is they're bringing their students along and they will make you wrestle. We want the answer really quick. Well, then is Netflix good or bad?
Yeah, right.
Like just wrestle with this. God likes wrestling when we're wrestling ultimately to serve him.
Yes.
So Israel even means wrestling with God. But anyway,
I think that's good because that means we're intimate. You know what I mean?
Right.
We're engaged.
Right.
With him. I like the answer so that I can give the answer. So that's why I'm trying to get to it so quickly so I can turn around and tell everybody.
Me too.
Here is the answer, guys. But he wants. For what I'm realizing in my own life is that he wants the intimacy of going back and forth just because I'm continually engaging.
I think it's good for us to wrestle with who we are in this story too. Like I'm prone being a 5 on the Enneagram or being an introvert or whatever, like in studying. I'm like, hey, I'll do the cave thing. But honestly, I'm probably more of a Pharisee, and they had some good points too.
Yeah.
But ultimately, they just would not humble themselves. It's good to fit yourself in there. You might be more Sadducee style or like the Zealots. But anyway, interesting. I hope
wherever you fall on it, ultimately, like I said, don't miss Jesus.
Yeah, totally.
He's right there. He's right there. He's literally right there. Don't miss him.
Yeah, good. Thanks for listening to this. If you're still listening. Are you still listening?
Are you still there? Guys, you know how rude it is. Are you still not to be there?
Are you still pumped?
I'm still pumped. Now I understand our beginning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stay pumped.
The Brant and Sherri Oddcast, sponsored by America's Christian Credit Union. To find out more about the show, go to branthansen.com.